Welcome to another edition of Mini Me Crafts. My name's Elizabeth, and today we're going to make the cutest ever nesting owl craft kits. So simple and really fun. So I always like, before I do crafts, I always like to kind of prep. And so I have everything I need so that I don't have that constant frustration of thinking, oh, I got to get up and get this and get this. So a couple tips for this craft. A little meat tray works great. You can put your glue in it. So you're not constantly, trying to dip it out of the bottle. You can use a old paintbrush to dip the glue. You can also use Q-tips. They work great if you don't have any paintbrushes around. And in this case, since you're doing feathers, you're using glue for the feathers, you can actually just take the feathers and dip them in the glue. So just having a little meat tray or a paper plate with the glue already out is great. I use this Crafter's Pick, the Ultimate. This glue is fantastic. But for this craft, Elmer's glue works just fine. Just a regular old white glue, non-toxic, washable, works fine as well. You just have to allow some drying time. I have scissors, which you're going to need for cutting your feathers. And then you need your craft kit. So your craft kit is going to have your felt and your pre-cut eyes and beak and ears and your feather pattern. And then you also have your styrofoam ball and or your foam ball, and then your grapevine wreath, which you can set aside for now. So the first thing you do, open your kit up. You get everything out. You've got your coordinating feather colors. These kits come in all different colors, and you can also request colors and patterns. They look cute. I have done them in so many different patterns, and they look cute in every single pattern. So, and then inside your smaller baggie, you've got your pre-cut. There's 4 triangles. One is going to be the beak, and 2 is going to be the ears. And then you have your googly eyes, and then these are your eye backgrounds. So they'll be doubled up like this, and then your eye will go on the top. Okay. And then you have your feather pattern, which is cut out in cardboard, so it's a little bit firmer and will last longer. Okay, so we're going to set all of our eyes and ears and beak aside for now. Put them over there with our foam ball. And the first mission is to cut out feathers. Now, there is a pattern included, okay? But honestly, you can do so many different feather sizes and shapes and thicknesses, and it really doesn't matter. So you're going to find that once you get going on these feathers, you're going to be like, oh, I don't really have to use this pattern. But there is one to help you get started. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I kind of take my pattern so I know what length it is. And then I just cut a strip, and it makes it a little easier for me. And I'm doubling it up, so I'm just cutting a strip for both, okay? And then I'm cutting a smaller piece that just fits my feather, so that I save felt, like this. Okay. And then just cut around your feather. And like I said, as you get going on this, you're going to be like, I don't need this pattern, this is way too easy. And it's okay for the feathers to be different sizes and shapes. And you can cut double felt at a time. As long as you have a decent pair of scissors, you can do 2 layers at a time. So you'll just keep going with your feathers like so. And then once we get all our feathers cut, we will come back and start gluing on. Okay, so now I've gotten all my feathers cut out. I have my blue, my solid color here, or turquoise, and then I have my pattern color, and I just separated them out. You could separate them into little piles or containers. And then I have all my scraps here. I used the entirety of both of pieces of my felt. And this stuff, if you're a crafter, this stuff makes great stuffing. So if you ever need to stuff a pillow or something, you can save that stuff for stuffing. Another suggestion before you cut out all of your felt is, if you want a bottom to your owl, the bottom piece doesn't get covered with feathers, and the styrofoam will show. Now, since it's on your little nest, you're never really going to see it. But if you do want to have a bottom, you can cut just a little piece of felt and glue it down on the bottom. So do that first before you cut all your feathers, and then you can use the rest of your felt for your feathers. And you'll still have plenty of felt to make all your feathers. So that's just an option not necessary, but just personal preference. So now we have our feathers, and I did mine really quickly. I didn't even use I used the pattern once and then just started cutting. So I have some that are fat and some that are thin and some that are longer and some that are shorter, and that's what makes every owl unique, and they're so, so cute when they're done. One other thing I want to suggest that I forgot to before I started cutting my feathers is a damp paper towel is good, because when you're using the glue, you get the glue, it gets on your fingers and stuff and gets sticky, and so you can use that paper towel to just kind of wipe it off, and then you're not constantly going to the sink or tempted to wipe it on your shirt. Okay, so I have my glue already in my meat tray, and then I have my feathers, and now it's time to make my owl. So I've got my styrofoam ball. It doesn't really matter where you start. What you're going to end up doing is covering about half of your owl with a pattern and half of your owl with the solid. And it doesn't matter, like on these owls, the solid is the back of the owl and the pattern is the front. But you can do whatever you want. I did these with my daughters, I think it was 8th birthday, 9th birthday, so they're all blending together now. And they were so cute, and some of them were just loppy-jawed, and the feathers were going different directions, and they turned out so adorable. So it doesn't matter, just be creative. I'm going to put, I think I'm going to put my pattern on the back this time. So I'm going to take a pattern piece, and like I said earlier, there's a couple options. You can use the paintbrush, okay, if you've got them. And what you're doing is you're just dabbing like half of the feather, okay? You don't need the other half, because that's what's going to hang off the bird. And you're starting at the bottom and you're working your way up, okay? So I don't start completely at the bottom. I just kind of let it hang off. There's just no way to mess these up. They're so darn cute. Okay, and then the other option is a Q-tip. So you can take a Q-tip and dab it in the glue, and then, oops, and then dab it on your feather. So that's another option. And be generous with the glue. The more the better. It's fine. And this is a good example. If you start to get sticky, just wipe on your wet towel. Okay, and then the other option is to just take your feathers and dip them in the glue like this. And I just kind of keep working around. Get about half my feather in the glue. And like I said, there is just no way to mess this up. It's just the cutest darn thing. You want to go about halfway around, and if you start to kind of edge up, I started to go a little bit too high, just scooch it down a little bit, okay? And I'm going to go about, like I said, about halfway around. I'm going to work my way up. And if you start thinking, oh, well, I want to make some feathers that are a different size or shape, you can always change the shape and cut a little bit and make them different. Your grapevine also makes a great holder for your owl when you need your hands free for glue, etc. Smooth that out. And like I said, Elmer's works great, so you could do that as well. Alright, keep working my way around. So I get about halfway. Okay, and then later on, if I find, oh, I want to go a little further, I can always add. Alright, and then I'm going to work up my owl a little bit. Sliding these guys down just a tad bit. Give myself a little more room. And what I do when I start a second layer is I put that second layer kind of in between two feathers so that you can sort of see the layering a little bit more. And this sort of looks like a shaggy haircut. Just so darn cute. And it also doesn't really matter if you work with your front of your owl first or your back of your owl first, or if you do them both kind of in between. So you're starting to see the layering going on. Okay. Now I'll probably do one more layer of those, but I want to show you how to get started on the other side, just so you've got a visual. So since this is going to be my front, my solid color is going to be my front, I just lay it in next to, and you can kind of decide which one you want to be on top of the other, and you can layer it, you know, if you want your front to be on top or bottom. And now I'm just going to layer around this side. So it's almost like you're doing a face, front body, and then the hair of a doll. And then just start layering that other color around. So I'm going to keep working. And once I get all my layering done, I will come back and show you kind of what it's looking like. Okay, so I've got most of my feathers on. It took about 3 layers. And I wanted to show you what I do at the top, because you get sort of to the top and they're all sort of going in on each other. And what you can do, you can sort of decide what feather color, but what I usually do is I take a feather and just lay it right across the top. And in this case, you'll want to put glue on both sides of the feather so it sticks down. It just kind of covers things up. And if you need to adjust a feather or two. Now, you'll notice I do have some glue that's showing, like I got a little glue on this feather here. Don't worry about that, because it's going to dry clear and you're not going to see it. And like I've already said so many times, these turn out so cute because they're all different and unique, so don't worry about that. Okay, so I decided that I was going to have my pattern be the back, so I'm going to make sure that that's on the back, and then my eyeballs are going to go on the front here. Okay, so we're going to do eyeballs first. Now with the eyeballs, we actually have to put glue all the way around, all the way on the bottom. So we're going to take our biggest circle first, okay, and I'm just going to put some glue all over that part. Make sure to get my edges. And you can always go in after you've stuck it on and sneak a little glue around the edges. So it doesn't, again, it doesn't really matter where you position the eyes. I like for them to sort of overlap both colors, because the owl eyes are so big that it's neat to have them sort of high and a little to the side. So I'll put some glue on my other one. And these are the big pieces. Get some more glue here. Your eyes can overlap a little bit too in the middle. That's fine. Now, before we put the rest of the eye layers on, we're going to go sneak the nose or the beak in and the ears in, okay? So the beak's real simple. It's different ways you can do it. You can glue the whole thing down if you want the beak to kind of stick out at the bottom. Then just glue the top part. Put some glue on the top part. That's how I'm going to do it this time. And what you'll do is just sneak that little beak underneath. You'll lift up your little eyes. Now it is good to do your eyes first. You could do your beak first, but you kind of need to know where your eyes are before you put your beak on. So that's why I kind of like to do it at this stage. And then you sort of know where the position's going to be. Okay, now for the ears are folded. So they're folded in half lengthwise, and it's a little harder to glue that way. So I've found you can glue them that way. You can even staple, staple. See, all I'm doing is taking my triangle and folding it in half to make my little ears, okay? I found just using a straight pin works great. And since kids are usually doing this, I lift up my ear flap and just stick it right in that styrofoam, and then I could add a little extra glue and glue it down. You know, you might have an adult do the pins, and so that's why I don't package the pins. I package them separately for you, so when you get them, you know, you can decide if you're going to do them, or if they're going to do them, or if you want to just go with glue. And glue works fine too. You just have to give it a little dry time. So there's one ear. And then we're going to fold the other ear. Get our straight pin. Just poke it right through to keep those two sides together. And then we're going to go over here and do that one. And you can kind of look from the front of your owl and get a feel for where you know, if your ears are straight or even, and, you know, reposition them. It's all very forgiving, so that's the good thing. So now, we got an owl without his little eyes. So, at the start of his eyes anyway, but not all of them. So now we're going to do our smaller round piece, and the same thing applies. Just get that glue down. Now, the other option for glue is hot glue. The problem with hot glue is you can't really do that with kids very easily unless it's older kids. And this is just so simple, and everybody can do it. And but hot glue is also an option. So just keep that, you know, or even if you wanted to try and hot glue the ears, you could even do that ahead of time. That's an option. So there's my midsection of my ears, or my eyes. He's looking rad. He looks like a 70s owl. He's living the high life. And then I have my Google eyes, and you want to be real generous with the glue because these are a little heavier. So, and definitely want to give them drying time to dry. Now, if you're doing this at a party or an event, and then the girls or boys need to take them home, then, you know, just encourage them, if they're still a little wet, the glue, to keep them in their grapevine wreath, in their little nest, and not to play with them until they've completely dried. Now, what I'm doing here, what I've been doing while I was talking, is I'm fluffing out my little feathers so that they lay over my little my nest. Okay, and you can tuck them too, like this guy's more tucked and glued down. And you can do it this way too, where you glue down the whole feather. I made a little bit of a shag carpet owl this time. I wanted to try that different. So now, I'm right, aren't I? Pretty cute. You can name them and set them anywhere. They make great gifts. Just the cutest little things ever. Just allow for drying time. And then you have very little cleanup. I had a few feathers of each color left. And you know, you could layer these, if you just say, oh, I want to put a few more layers on, you could use them or not. And then very little cleanup. Throw your meat tray away, rinse out your brush, and you're good to go. So have fun, enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.